Daf Yomi Tractate Bava, page 117a, top of the page, with the words Idina o Knasa. If it is the halacha, or is it a fine? Might be a good idea to start from the bottom of 116b. The last line said that after Rav Nachman left, Rav Yosef said to Rav Huna bar Chia, "What difference does it make to you?" We'll start the idea here. Rav Nachman said to him, "This individual's liability is written explicitly in the Mishnah. Is it the halacha, as we learned in the Mishnah, if thugs took the field due to the robber, he is obligated to provide the owner with a different field, and it was established that the Mishnah referring to the case where the individual showed the field to thugs, who later seized it. So too, in this case, the one who showed the exilarch's wheat pile to thugs is obligated to pay for them." After Rav Nachman left, Rav Yosef said to Rav Huna bar Chia, "What difference does it make to you?" Okay, and now we're on page 117 on the top. If it is the halacha or if it is a fine. Rav Huna bar Chia said to him, "If it is the halacha, we learn from it and apply this ruling to other cases. But if it is a fine, we do not learn from it, as it is possible that Rav Nachman had a specific reason to impose a fine in this case." The Gemara asks, "And from where do you say that we do not learn from the imposition of a fine in one case and apply the ruling in other cases?" The Gemara answers that the source is as it is taught in a Braita. Initially, the sages would say that one who renders another's food ritually impure, thereby rendering it unfit for him to consume, and one who pours another's wine as a libation for idol worship, thereby rendering it an item from which deriving benefit is prohibited, are liable to pay the owner for the financial loss they caused, despite the fact that damage is not evident. Subsequently, they added to this list to say that even one who intermingles truma, the portion of the produce designated for the priest, with another's non-sacred produce, thereby rendering the non-sacred food forbidden to non-priests, is liable to compensate the owner for the loss of the value of the produce, as fewer people will be willing to buy it from him. The Gemara comments, it may be inferred from the Braita that it is only because the sages subsequently added to the list that yes, one who intermingles truma with another's non-sacred produce must compensate him. But if they had not subsequently added to the list, he would not be liable. What is the reason that we do not learn that he is liable from the cases of one who renders another's food impure or pours wine as libation for idol worship, as this is also a case in which one causes damage that is not evident? Is it not due to the fact that his payment is a fine, and with regard to a fine, we do not learn from one case that it may be imposed in other circumstances? The Gemara answers, no, this is not the reason. Rather, initially the sages maintained that they were concerned with regard to a large financial loss. For example, the cases of one who renders another's food impure or pours his wine as libation for idol worship. But with regard to a small financial loss, for example, one who intermingles truma with another's non-sacred produce, they were not concerned. And ultimately the sages maintained that they were concerned with regard to a small loss as well as imposed liability. The Gemara asks, is that so? But didn't the father of Rabbi Avin teach the Brite as follows? Initially, they would say that one who renders another's produce impure and one who intermingles truma with another's non-sacred produce are both liable to pay for the financial loss that they caused, despite the fact that the damage is not evident. Subsequently, they added to this list to say that even one who pours another's wine as a libation for idol worship is also liable to pay a fine for the loss that he caused. It may be inferred that it is only because the sages subsequently added to the list that, yes, one who pours libation is liable. But if they had not subsequently added to the list, he would not be liable. The Gemara comments, since one who offers libations for idol worship causes a large financial loss, the rationale offered previously cannot apply to this version of the Braita. Accordingly, what is the reason that the liability for pouring another's wine as a libation could not be extrapolated from the fine imposed for rendering another's food impure or intermingling it with truma? Is it not due to the fact that we do not learn from the imposition of a fine in one case that a fine may be imposed in other cases? The Gemara answers no. This is not the reason. Rather, the reason is that initially the sages held in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Avin, and ultimately they held in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yirmiyah. The Gemara elaborates, initially they held in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Avin, as Rabbi Avin says, if one stood in the public domain on Shabbat and shot an arrow from the beginning of an area measuring 4 cubits to the end of an area measuring 4 cubits, and the arrow tore another's silks in the course of its travel through the air, the one who threw it is exempt from paying for the cloth. The reason for this is that lifting an item is a necessity for placing it elsewhere, and therefore the entire process, from when one shoots the arrow until it comes to a rest, is considered to be a single act. The one performing it is liable to receive the death penalty for violating Shabbat. One who performs a single act for which he is liable to receive the death penalty and is also liable to pay money receives only the death penalty. Similarly, one who pours another's wine as a libation for idol worship incurs the death penalty and is therefore exempt from paying for the wine. And ultimately they held that the liabilities are not incurred simultaneously in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yirmiyah. As Rabbi Yirmiyah says, from the time of the lifting, the thief acquires the wine and is therefore immediately liable to pay money to the owner. But he is not liable to receive the death penalty until the time that he pours the libation. Once the sages concluded that the liabilities are not incurred simultaneously, they ruled that one who pours another's wine as a libation for idol worship is liable to reimburse him. Wow, this is a long daf. Oh boy. To reimburse him. Okay, we're going to stop here. We're going to do part B. This is just too long.